All right, thank you for tuning into the Atlas Life podcast. Today we are talking to Ashley, a labor and delivery travel nurse who works with recruiter Mary Beth Burns.
Hi, I'm Ash, and I am a high-risk labor and delivery nurse, and I've been a nurse since 2019, right before the pandemic hit.
Okay, so how did you meet Mary Beth?
I was on a Facebook page and I wanted to be out in Washington, and I think I just put out just a general like, hey, looking for contracts, like let me know what you have. And her name popped up in like immediately. I'm like, I think she just is magic. I don't think she's human. Like she's just so fast and like just on it. And the way that like she's stunning. Like you can just feel like her light like when you look at her picture. She has her little like bee symbol, and bees are so important. And be like, this is kind of probably gonna be like, all right, like what, like this is a weird thing, but I have a bee tattoo on my chest. Bees are really important to me. They cultivate community, they are loyal, they can regulate their self by the vibrational energy that their wings create. And so that means like full autonomy, self-awareness. They druids believed that when you are trying to find your destiny, you should follow a bee. And so like there's so many things, and the loyalty aspect, and also like bees are so small and sometimes misunderstood. I don't think she understood that just a small symbol was going to mean so much to me and make her stand out. She's not pushy. She was very just down to earth. She cared about who I was as a person. She just talked to me for a little bit. She got to know me. It wasn't like she had better things to do. Like it was like she makes me feel like I'm the only person in the world and her priority. And in a world where people don't really do that very often, and in a way that like maybe some people grow up not really feeling like a priority, that spoke volumes to me like immediately. She's an amazing human. And so then we got a contract together, which was super exciting. And we have been through that, and the whole time like she checks in, she's asking me questions, she values how I'm feeling, not just as a traveling nurse, not just how the job is, but like how I am as a person. And like she's listened to me about things that I have going on in my personal life, and she has this cute newsletter that she really like boosts up her travelers, and like I'll send her pictures and updates of what I've been doing and how the dogs are, and like what hikes or what things I'm getting into, and she like just celebrates life with me. And it's just a beautiful thing when you feel so untethered as a travel nurse, that like to have someone in your corner with such a beautiful soul.
What are the pros and cons of travel nursing? Let's start with some of the positives.
There's so many positives. I mean, there's so much in this world to see, and it's really cool to have a job that gets me into different places. You get to learn different cultures. You get to even have, I mean, like every city has a different, like subset of humans. Like in Seattle, we have a very different population than what would be in Enid, Oklahoma, or in Savannah, Georgia. You also have different mindsets, which is it challenges you as a human and it grows you. And so I feel like when you're constantly put in an uncomfortable and new environment, you grow as a person. And there is so much of this world to see, and sometimes it's hard, especially in this economy, to like travel and like get to see these places. And so when you get to have a contract in a new place that has a bunch of hiking or has a bunch of national forests or whatever like floats your boat, it's really cool to be able to explore and just grow as a human while also doing your job.
How about some more challenging things about travel nursing?
So, I mean, there's challenges with everything. if there wasn't, this life would be so boring. The challenges is like, I am a single woman who travels. That's a hard thing to sign on for in a personal relationship. Dating is really hard. You go into new places, they hear that you're not here for a long time, and it scares people. It scares people because maybe they assume things about you. Like maybe you don't know how to settle down, or maybe you can't cultivate like a really beautiful relationship within the short couple months that like you have. And some people, like they think, well, what happens in 3 months, and it's like, well, anything is possible. And you can solve any problem. And just because I travel now doesn't really mean that I'll travel forever. And I travel because it makes sense for my life. But my mom always asks, like, when are you going to settle down? And I was like, Mom, I would have loved to have a partner in life. I would love to have children. Like, I want all of those things. I have to find someone that can meet me where I'm at and has done all the inner work that like I've done, and wants to like have that life and give me a reason to like maybe take one more contract somewhere else and then come back and like move in and settle down. Like, so I think having like a dating life is really difficult. But like when you are dating in a place, like if you move to a new place, you have a whole new set of people. Like you have, and like people are different in different places. My friend and I, who was also a travel nurse, who was also single, was like, they're tall here. And I was like, they are tall here. So like, there's like, that's a pro. Like you get to new places, but it's also hard because like you want to cultivate that like partnership. So, like, and you have different like ideas here, like in the West, I mean, there's a lot of more expansive thought processes. A lot of people are into alternative medicines, just a lot of different things. So like it's really, that's another pro is like you can meet like-minded people if that's how you operate, and friends too. Like I have friends in so many different places, but it's hard to, a lot of people kind of operate on the realm of convenience. And so like if you're not always there at game night and you're not always like physically there, like you just somehow don't get to have as close of a connection and friendship. And so that's kind of hard, as you're putting your life on hold. I mean, those interpersonal relationships kind of get put on hold, and you don't really get to build your sense of community, or you have like your home church or your home groups and all of these things. Like you kind of have all of that on hold. And another con is just the stress of the unknown. Some places hire travelers and then cancel them to low census. Some will not want to say low census because they'll get penalized. So they'll find different reasons to cancel you that kind of hurt. And then you just wish that they would just like own up to the fact that they like overdid it. And like, so there's definitely a lot of different things. I mean, some places are not travel friendly. Like some nurses just, they don't like new guests in their house. They don't like that if you kind of know what you're doing. I feel like when someone comes in and knows a lot, it's a beautiful thing because if you are the smartest person in the room, you get out of that room immediately, like, because you're not growing there. And like, I love traveling for that. Like, I love learning and gaining knowledge. And like, I ask physicians and other people, like, what is your why? Like, why do you do that? Or like, can you explain that to me? Or can you like explain the science? And so like, I'm constantly learning. And I think there are the, pro of being in a new place is the constant educational advancements. But the con can also be like, people are kind of like Shrek. They're like, get out me swamp. Like they're just, some people are just not nice. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously I wouldn't do it if there wasn't more pros than cons, but there's definitely cons, and taxes are also like a huge thing of just like trying to figure out, like, especially if you've like had a lot of contracts, and like you also have to think about like what your state is that you're living in, like what, like for instance, like Texas and I think Washington, like they don't do income tax. So like being in places where you can kind of have better taxes is also important. I refuse to go to New York City. I'm not paying those taxes. That's insane. Get a tax person and also understand the rules, because a lot of people talk about things like in forums, and from what I've learned, and I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. You cannot be doing what some people are doing with the dual expenses. You have to have a taxable home. That taxable home has to be of market value. So, like, whether your taxable home is a room in a state, that room you have to be paying for monthly, and it has to be of market value for a room. So, like, if on average a room is $800 and you're paying 400 because it's your mom's house, that's not really like, that's like, if you get audited, you're going to have to speak to that and most likely won't do well. Then, where you're working, you have to have the same thing, a market value. And some people like will do the media, like the least, like whatever the radius is, they'll go like a couple miles out of it, and they'll get and they'll consider it a travel contract. So they'll get meal stipends, they'll get travel, they'll get like housing, all of that. And they'll drive like the 150 miles or whatever to their job, get a hotel for 3 days, and then come back to their taxable home. Like some contracts will ask you, like, are you paying for a place for the full like 7 days a week / the whole month? And like you have to make sure that you are, because if you aren't, then you shouldn't be getting as much of a stipend. That's just opening yourself up for a possible issue. You might be able to speak yourself out of it, but that definitely is opening yourself up for an issue. And then also like getting a furnished apartment is important, and getting on Furnished Finder. Or sometimes like when you accept a contract, some of the nurses will actually be renting places. I was in Kyle, Texas, which is just outside of Austin, and actually some of those nurses, even if they were on other units, had rental properties that they would rent to travel nurses. So like ask your manager, like, hey, sometimes like people have like rental spaces, like, do you know of anyone? Or do you know a good area? It's like, don't be afraid to ask questions, but also don't settle for sketchy places. Like, do your research. Safety is another possible con of traveling, especially as a female. Do your research if you carry. Do your research between states. Understand how people feel about that. I'm from Texas, so we have lots of ideas about guns, and not every place feels the same. And also, people don't know your intentions, so that also seems like a threat and very scary. So just, do your research, lock your doors, make sure you understand like how to keep yourself safer. And it's funny because I'll talk to people here and they're like, no one really knows that you live there. And I was like, that's the point. I don't need them knowing that a single girl lives here. So I keep everything locked, and like I open the garage door, I drive my car in and close the garage door and then get out. It's very rare that anyone sees me like outside, because I just want that to be minimal. I don't walk my dogs in my neighborhood. I don't want them knowing where I'm coming to and from. Making sure that someone has your location. I went to Alaska and I had to make sure someone had my location because you could die out there. Moose are crazy. You are single, and if you disappear and you don't have friends out here and you don't work for a couple days, who's going to know where you are? And time is everything when it comes to safety and like being found and like all of that stuff. So, I mean, I think like some people might think that that's really drastic, but it's actually really important, and especially as a female, to consider all of those things.
And that is phenomenal. Lots of good tips. Why did you decide to start traveling to begin with?
I think it was a mixture of some things. So, not to speak ill, of certain places, but I did not feel like I was valued at the hospital that I was at. I love humans. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you practice. I care a lot because I value who you are and what makes you who you are. I did like a residency, and I did the best that I could with the places that I was at. I was at a good hospital. I learned a lot. I asked lots of questions. I even I was a neuromed surg nurse first, and then I went to labor and delivery, which is where I always wanted to be. And then I even cross-trained a little bit in the NICU because I had questions and I was curious, and they loved that I wanted to be involved. And sometimes you want to know where these little babies are going. And yeah, and I just was like, there's a whole world out there. Like, you don't have to be somewhere if you don't feel at home. I was spending like 60 hours a week at work because COVID, and I was picking up extra, and I was trying to make more money, and I was trying to you know, um, I was trying to build up a savings and all sorts of things, and just like build a security. And so, um, but you're spending 40 to 60 hours somewhere. Be somewhere you're valued. Like, you are replaceable. No matter how great you are replaceable. And you deserve to be somewhere that when you walk into work, you're excited. The only thing that kept me there were a few people, and they didn't always work with me on that shift, so that was hard. My patience is what really made my experience. And I was like, there's great people everywhere. There's great patients everywhere. I can do this. And I was like, and there could be a place that like I actually feel valued. And so I just was like, there's more to this than just being in one spot. And so I took the leap, and I met a traveler, and she actually stayed with me, and she told me all about it. I never knew that that was a thing. And then once I got like my 2 years of experience, I think I was like just a little less than 2 years in L&D, but I was already 2 years as a nurse. But once I got my experience, I went, and I was so grateful I did. I was just so grateful because even with like the cons that we talked about traveling, and like sometimes like people aren't nice and whatnot, you feel like you have more control, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you're only there for 3 months. You can do anything. Like, you don't have to be in the unit meetings. You don't have to be in the politics. You don't have to be in kind of the stuff that like gums down why you became a nurse. Like, I'm here to heal and be a part of a team, and take care of patients and meet them in their most vulnerable states, and hopefully limit or completely like eliminate the trauma that can happen in healthcare. And I hope that like I can give them a good experience. And even if they're there for a very, very sad reason, I hope that what I do makes an impact so that they feel the least amount of trauma. And it's really cool because I've been in new places, and there has been patients that I knew I was supposed to be there for because of my experiences and like the things that have happened to me, whether it's been like a sexual assault victim that is young. Like, I have a different perspective and a different knowledge base on that. And so like I went to a place, and like I had a couple of those, and I felt like they were specific to me. And like I had assignment switch ups that I felt like were very specific to me, that like it was just a universal alignment. And I felt like it was really cool to then kind of get that confirmation, like, you're meant to travel, like you're meant to move, you're meant to be in this place. And that doesn't mean, you might not be everyone's like cup of tea, or you might not feel like you're fully like at home somewhere, but your patience, which is one of the only things that matter, like there's a reason you're here to be with them. I wonder if they realize how much of an impact they have on me, and like how much I think of them. And so, yeah, no, I just knew that there was more than what I was doing as a staff nurse. And I believe in loyalty, and I understand like you can make a place a home, but you need to be where you feel valued. And our job is stressful enough. And if you feel like you have a message to share and a light to, give, and you want to explore, I feel like you should travel. And it's kind of why I did. And then, the finances like was definitely helpful. It's a little bit harder now. It's not really as lucrative as it was. Um, but it grows the soul, and I was just ready to keep expanding mine for sure. My why is so deeply ingrained, and like there's little things that like kind of kick you off in a direction. But my why has grown so much since then. And like I know the catalyst that started this journey, but I also feel like I've expanded upon that, and then it also then transferred into my why of why I went back to I'm in psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner school. And so like it's just interesting like how one little event can have a ripple effect that like brings you to where you are today and where you're going and what your plans are.
Amazing. I'm excited to see where you go in the future. Okay, what do you like about working with Atlas so far? And if it's Mary Beth, I get it. But so far, what do you like about Atlas?
I think just like, well, I guess I could also speak to you because your job, you're in marketing, like your marketing's on point. But the thing is your marketing's on point, and there is like deliver. Like you guys deliver. It's not like you're not all talk. Like, and I appreciate just, I mean, Mary Beth is everything. So we're just gonna put that out there. She's the GOAT. She's everything. Like, goodness, if I could just have everyone have her. Like, she has definitely made my experience. But it's just like, it's little things like I've never been a part of a company, and this is probably gonna sound really dumb, but it's like I've never been a part of a company where like I get a jacket. And that's kind of cool. Like I get to represent the company. Like I'm a part of something. Like even though I'm a traveler and I kind of beep up around, I have a place that like I'm a part of, and I could like grow into if I wanted to. And like, I think that's cool. And like just all the little, when you were speaking about like Atlas Adventure, and like this, for instance, is super cool because you feel like these are like the perks that where you're like, I get to tell stories, and like I get to share, and like we can have this like shared humanity experience. And I think like that's all super cool. And just like the benefits and having a travel stipend, like not every travel company gives you a certain amount out and a certain amount back to like get to your next place. And I think like it's all very just user friendly. I think Mary Beth does a really good job to fill the gaps in where there might be like confusion. Compliance has been really easy. They're very straightforward, and I haven't had any like annoyances. There's some places that their compliance teams are, you just kind of like beep bop around from like one person to the next, and you're like, I already submitted that, didn't I? Like why, what's going on? Like, why is there so much confusion? So I just feel like they've made it really easy and very straightforward. And then they're just like, everyone's been friendly, and like no one's just doing the job to do the job. Like they actually, you just meet people where they're at, and you give them grace. And it's just a bunch of real humans, it seems like, that is a part of the company, and that you value how like your company is made up. And it's super cool. And being involved and getting like spotlighted, and then there's like the Atlas like giveaways on Fridays, and like just all these different things that just make it kind of exciting, and to feel, because we all kind of just want to feel like we belong. And that's a really beautiful thing to feel in a company, especially so soon.
You're amazing, and I want to meet you so bad.
Been to Omaha before. It is a fun little place.
It's not too bad. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Omaha's boring, but those people are boring. What's next? Do you have a dream assignment, or do you just want to talk about your plan? Like, what's next for you?
I do feel like I have a dream assignment, but I also know that like because I have pets, that unless Atlas was like, "Hey, we love you so much. We're going to pay for your pets to go to Hawaii." Like I think being on a tropical island would be really awesome. I think if there was like a way to do like Florida Keys, even though Florida as a healthcare professional scares the crap out of me because I think, no offense, but I just think they do some wild things over there. I think I've got a lot kind of going on. I spoke a little bit about my pets, and I have an off-site child. And so I own a equestrian show jumping horse. And so my plan is to develop him. I love show jumping, so that's a big plan of mine, a big passion. And that's also kind of why I'm traveling a little bit, because he's expensive, you know? So I'm in my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner school. I'm supposed to graduate December 2025. And I'm excited about that because I'm hoping to get a job in like Seattle or California, because they value mental health, not only to be valued, but also to be compensated properly for all your hard work and all the things that you're doing, so that I can expand on my practice. Because the thing is when you invest in others, they then can take that, and the ripple effect is monumental. And so I want to write, and I would love to speak. Obviously, I like talking, and I want to do telehealth so that I can kind of be mobile, and my patients can reach me. I can get my foot in the right doors so that I can have an impact on other people and teach them that like they are way more than their past, the way that they are treated, the way that they feel like the box that they're put in. And like I want people to realize like how expansive they can be, and how like you can fix anything, but also not to look at yourself as something to fix, because you're not a problem. We're all complex humans, and we just need to learn the specific tools on how to navigate that. And our brains can heal, and we can create new neuro pathways into healthier thinking, and we can change so much. And so that is, that is kind of what my future I ideally would love. So I just signed a contract to do a preceptorship contract. Yeah. So someone is going to be assigned to me, and I get to take them through that entire process of being a new grad. And ideally, hopefully not have them be as traumatized as I was when I was a new grad, and have them feel empowered and learn what they're meant to do and their place in this profession that they picked and they worked so hard to get through. So that will take me, it'll be in Tacoma, Washington. That'll take me until December. And then after that, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where Mary Beth and I go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley, for taking the time to share your story and experiences with us. There was a lot of great advice there. Keep in mind, Atlas MedStaff does not claim to be tax professionals. And once income tax season rolls around, you might want to consider reaching out to one. Until next time, what will your Atlas adventure be?